Hello, my name is Lisa, and this week's topics are strength and stiffness. I'm gonna compare it to automobile parts, and I chose the tire rim because I think it's such an important part of the car that it supports all of the weight of the car. If without it, you couldn't drive it basically. So it's such an important part that I decided to analyze it today. Well, what's the difference between strength and stiffness? It's difficult to see because they're correlated. So if something's strong, it is more likely to be stiff as well. Strength basically is the amount of load a material can receive without breaking. So basically, the more strong that a material is, the greater the load that it could be applied onto the material without it breaking. And stiffness is basically the opposite of flexibility. So if something is flexible, it's not stiff. It means it can't support load without moving in the direction of the load. So imagine that if I have a material here and I apply load in this way, in the vertical plane, if the material moved with a force, it is more likely to be flexible and not stiff. But if it wouldn't move with a force, it would be stiff. So the tire rim uses these principles to work because it supports all of the weight of the car and the forces of the rotational compound because it receives rotational forces so that the tire can move forward and rotate and move the car. So it receives forces in a lot of ways, and it needs to be strong and stiff to receive all of those forces without breaking or moving as well. Because imagine if the tire rim was made of cardboard, for example. You couldn't even drive the car because the car would be supported by the floor instead of the tire rim and the tires. So I think engineers need to take in consideration all of those things to make automobile parts. They need to test the materials, make load tests, and make parts that are durable, strong, and stiff. Because something fatal could happen. Accidents, imagine you're driving and the tire rim just broke. Basically, an accident would happen, you wouldn't even know what to do. In this situation, wouldn't even know what would happen, if the car would stop, if the tire would go and fly away of the car. It's difficult to analyze these materials to the strength they need in order to support all of the weight and different conditions while you're driving a car. The tire rim is super important because imagine if you were driving and you were about to reach a hole or a big rock and the tire rim was flexible and it moved. What happens is that every tire has different pressures and is receiving different forces. So if one tire is receiving a greater force than the other and they were flexible, the car would move like this, really weird, and the driving wouldn't be so smooth. So it is important that engineers take in consideration these concepts and differentiate them because some parts need to be flexible but strong, and other parts maybe need to be not flexible or like that because they could break easily. So I think it's important to take in consideration these concepts for designing automobile parts, and taking in consideration them could make it less likely to have like car accidents with your design. Thank you very much for your attention. Bye.